It was gross, and this Saturday's going to be beautiful.
Beautiful. Here we go. Starting time.
To get this on in case you have any questions.
And welcome back. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to Mayor's Minutes for today, Wednesday. I can't believe I'm going to say October 25th, 2023. Wow. It seems like should be the date from the Time Machine and that Christopher Lloyd tri-series. All right, just a reminder, Mayor's Minutes. So we've made the transition from Facebook Live to YouTube. So we want you, if you're not watching this live and you want to ask a question, your medium is YouTube. And you go out to YouTube and you just search for the Methuen Community Studios channel like I did. It comes up, click on it, and then in the live chat you can ask any question respectfully. And that's for the whole program. So today we've got a little bit of a difference. It's my pleasure to introduce our state representative, 15th District, am I right?
Yep.
Ryan Hamilton. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
This is your first time in your elected capacity.
That's it. I think this is my third show overall. I was your first show.
You were my first show, that's right. Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
And if Nancy Reardon was here, she'd say, you take a lot of abuse still for... When things don't appear in slides,
that's
we
it.
call that a Ryan.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Do we still have slides?
We do. We
do still have slides.
Do, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have some at the end here, you'll see.
Okay.
We got a lot of...
Hopefully not COVID slides.
No. Oh. Reference the time there.
Yeah, we don't need to go back to COVID slides.
Don't. But we do have a lot of upcoming events that we're going to talk about. But we want to spend a little time talking to you first about your role. And let's start by saying, what did you find most surprising? So you get elected, and then, now you're going to go into the job. What was the most surprising aspect of it to you?
Yeah, I would say the most surprising thing on my end is really, sometimes you just wish you could split yourself up and go to multiple events. I mean, it's really a time management job. Because, you have to manage being down in Boston, committee hearings, votes, making connections down there so we can bring resources back up to the Merrimack Valley. Yeah. But also, there's always a lot going on, specifically in Methuen, but I also represent parts of Haverhill as well. Yeah. So, I mean, it's the pace, it's prioritization. I thought I would be spending a lot more time in Boston than I do, and I find I'm spending actually a lot more time up here in district, going to events, having meetings with stakeholders here, and which I really enjoy.
Yeah, not a bad thing. Yeah.
No. Yeah. If anything, it's better because you really get to hear, you really get to listen to, boots on the ground, what communities need, and meet more people, which is always good. So
as it's your first year in office, and you're, it seems like 9 months in. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
It goes fast.
Yes, it does.
So you're 9 months in. What are some of your key care-abouts? Things that you want to bring back to Methuen and Haverhill, things that you're prioritizing on your list.
Yeah, so I mean, we could start off with the budget. We passed the budget. We got $50,000 for mental health at Methuen High School. Actually, Methuen Public School specifically. That was a big thing of mine. It was something I, campaigned on. It's something, I'm happy to be on your mental health task force here in the city. It's something that a lot of us have identified as a real concern, a real issue. And something that we're, looking to do a lot more about. So this $50,000 is something I worked specifically with John Crocker at the high school, and this will go towards training for all our guidance counselors to get them the most up-to-date mental health training possible so they can help our students as much as possible.
It's so important.
It really is. I mean, between a lot of students having missed large gaps of social development during COVID, coming back from COVID, and now, I mean, we had a mental health crisis before COVID, and just daily life, dealing with the stresses of being young, being a parent, being old, isolationism, mental health affects everyone.
It does.
And it's just important and it's something that, again, I'm happy that we're addressing really together here in the city. Another thing that kind of goes into something that you're working on as well is I got money for Forest Lake that I believe is going towards a new gym set. What's the proper terminology? Steve Angelo told me a couple weeks ago. It's
what kind of equipment?
No, like jungle gym equipment.
Oh, really?
I don't even know. I forget what the terminology is. But along that lines, it's going to go and replace what we have at Forest Lake Jungle Gym, swings and stuff like that. So that's really exciting. And that goes on to something, parks and recreational spaces. We hosted a couple meetings. You have your
capital
improvement plan. Thank you. That's come out, and we're really going to give a facelift here to our recreational spaces and outdoor spaces in Methuen, and that's going to be great. We're going to have more to come on my end, with every budget. So that's really exciting. And in Haverhill, we actually have a great piece that is in the process of getting done that's actually going to really impact the Merrimack Valley. There's an old school up in the Bradford section of Haverhill called Cogswell, and they're trying to turn it into a arts and performing arts center that's going to be that will host all artists from all over the Merrimack Valley and let them have a home in Haverhill. For space, for performances, and they are looking for a little bit they are currently applying for a state grant that will give them $1 million that will allow them to finish the project. And this is through the arts and cultural grants that the state offers that I know Jennifer Loisel, as someone on the cultural council here in Methuen, has been applying for as well for certain Methuen things. So it's really exciting. It's again, I'm very lucky to have the partners I have in Methuen and Haverhill, both mayoral, city council, and legislators alike to work with. Because when you're a freshman, that's what they call as first year legislatures. There's a lot to learn, and having someone like a Rep Vargas in Haverhill who's now 5-6 years in, who knows the ropes, who can help me kind of navigate things has been really helpful.
Yeah. So tell us about a typical day.
Oof. So a typical day usually starts off with me getting on the road around 7:30, 8 o'clock, head down to Boston for committee hearings. Committee hearings usually start at 10 o'clock. And most committee hearings are on Tuesdays and Thursdays, because Wednesdays we go down and we vote on legislation. Right. So get down there, usually have a committee hearing from about 10 o'clock till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Lunch, couple meetings, Zoom or in person, depending on who's the meeting's with. Then usually around 2-3 o'clock, we have another committee hearing that goes to about 5 or 6, and then that usually
ends the day.
Come back up to Methuen or Haverhill, and there's always a litany of events, especially nowadays with the municipal election season. We got plenty of those, and Greater Haverhill Chamber, Methuen Exchange Club, Methuen Rotary Club. There's always something.
Everybody chipping in.
Exactly. There's always something. So
keep your calendar busy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are some days that I leave the house at 8 o'clock, won't come home till 10. And then, as I always joke, there's a day where you'll be shocked, and you have a random Wednesday where you're like, I have 2 things to do, and that's it. It's the schedule, is just something. It's all over the place. You could have weeks where you're working 2 weeks straight, Saturdays, Sundays, the whole kibitz, and then you could have a couple of days where you have a random Wednesday, Thursday off, and your Friday, Saturday, Sunday are packed. So
you giveth and it taketh away.
That's it.
Right?
That's it. It's certainly no 9 to 5.
Yeah. So, and how about when you've been going in? And I know you don't have to go in all the time. When you do the commute, how's the commute been?
It's not bad. I mean, it's nothing a couple phone calls or some sports radio doesn't fix. But I mean, it is usually, so from my house to the State House with what I would consider normal traffic is about an hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then some days, like if a committee hearing gets rescheduled or something, and my committee hearing's at 1, the difference between me leaving at 8 o'clock, my house at 8 o'clock, and taking a couple of Zoom calls from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, then leaving at 10 is like an hour and a half, is like 45 minutes.
Oh, sure.
I can get in there in 45 minutes if I leave at 10, or an hour and a half if I leave at 8. So just depends on what I have to do.
And who goes with you?
No one, it's just me.
No, but I mean, a million of your friends around you in other cars.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's funny. Usually it's funny. I actually have run into a couple reps, Rep Reyes, Rep Vargas, coming in at the same time, and I find that we're staring at each other in standstill traffic on 93.
Yeah.
So
maybe it's a plug for
public transportation.
Public transportation.
That's
right?
it.
So, because I know my son uses the Ballardvale line.
Yeah.
To get into the SJC.
Yeah.
Right? So
I knew Rep Minicucci was always taking the train in.
Yeah.
The only reason I don't personally is because in case I have to come back here at an unscheduled time, it's just convenient for me to have my car down there. But it's nice because I know the reps who do take public transportation and they do a little work on their laptop, they,
there's benefits to it and there's drawbacks.
Absolutely, because unfortunately there have been times where public transportation is not working as right as we'd like. So it's a give and take for sure.
You're looking at the greatest argument for and against it, right?
Yep.
So we had Christina Minicucci on last week with Miva, and they did a great job talking about the benefits.
I've had a couple meetings with them, and they what they're doing first, I love the color scheme. It stands out, and it's a Miva bus. And second of all, some of the routes they're bringing in, some of the ways they're reimagining the routes and try to help people and get them to places like the Loop, places like giving
them away free.
Downtown Haverhill. Exactly. They're doing a great job, and they're she in particular, I think, is a great asset to Miva because of her knowledge of the Merrimack Valley and her knowledge of the players. So
she absolutely is.
Very lucky to have her.
So the whole Merrimack Valley is lucky to have her.
Yep.
She was a great rep for Methuen when she was there, and she's doing a heck of a job at Miva.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we talked a little bit about challenges. Is it hard to establish a routine, or does that come with just a matter of time?
It comes. I think it's going to come with a matter of time. It is. I mean, it is tough because some days are different than others. But some of the reps I've talked to have been there for 6, 7, 8 years. Have said that you get a routine. Kind of what your schedule is depending on the time of year.
Yeah. Now, how do you determine what committees you want to be on? And
so I apply for them usually. So when we started, I'm thinking we didn't get committees till about February.
Yeah.
So you email the speaker's office and you request usually 4 committees.
Yep.
And usually they give you 2.
Yeah.
And then you get 2 others. So the 4 that I requested were labor and workforce, financial services, higher education, and mental health. And I got higher education, and I got financial services.
Yep.
My other 2 committees are the Committee on Federal Stimulus and the Census. Doesn't meet as much because, unfortunately, Washington's in a bit of a gridlock right now, and we won't have a census for a while.
Yeah.
And then municipalities is actually a really interesting one because you get all the home rule petitions from all the cities and towns. So you kind of get an understanding of where
how the process works.
Where each city's coming from. I get a lot of them are towns transitioning, adding people to select boards, adding town moderators. It's interesting. And we have a couple. Home rule petitions for the police department, which
age related.
Age related, which already get a hearing, so we're trying to move those out. So it's kind of nice being on that committee and trying to expedite those a bit more. We just filed one, I think, within the past 2 weeks, and we were able to get a hearing within 7 to 14 days, which is good because you guys have done a lot, and that was kind of my pitch during my testimony. The city's done a lot to rebrand and the police department and resume, gain trust back again. And, we need this as a state, we need to give you guys the tools to keep that process moving and, keep the great work that you and Chief McNamara are doing.
Well, and I'm sure you'll do your part.
Yep, we're getting there.
We'll have our hand in your pocket.
Oh, that's it. You always do. That's what we're here for, though.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about challenges. Mm-hmm. How about just the day-to-day stuff, Ryan? Mm-hmm. So you're elected. Who skims you through where to go? When you show up at the State House first day. What what to do.
Yeah. So two things. First, so they send us to a boot camp for 3 days out in UMass Amherst, which was very informative in terms of the legislative process, how to file a bill. They gave us a ethics training, more than what you'd usually take as an elected official in terms of always ask House Counsel before you do, because it's a lot easier for us to tell you no than for you to undo what you've done, which is really helpful. And they had a couple legislators who live out in Western Mass come to UMass Amherst, and they kind of ran us through a mock session. So we could kind of see how it works and stuff like that. So that was really helpful. And then I'm very fortunate. My legislative aide, Emily, worked in the building 2 years before she, for another rep, before she came and worked with me. So having her as a resource in terms of bill filing, in terms of generally walking around the State House, because it's a very big building that looks the same all over, is invaluable, and I think has allowed me to really take off quickly, specifically when it comes to constituent services. Because there was no learning curve for her. If someone called our office and needed help with mass health, needed help with food stamps, she has the contacts, she knows the people, and we can get them help as soon as possible. I know for a lot of reps, there's a learning curve with that, understandably so.
Very hard topic.
So she's been invaluable in that way, and I'm very fortunate to have her on staff and helping the residents of Methuen and Haverhill.
All I know is I asked you that question with tongue in cheek, because I think I got invited after I was elected in to talk to the then state auditor, Suzanne Bump. And there were about 15 of us who were invited. And I remember going and, just like looking down the halls and going, where the hell am I? Right?
I know.
So,
well, and I'm sure you experienced it too when you first got elected. I mean, there's no handbook on how to be a state rep, a mayor, a state senator. So, and you and I are in the same boat in terms of elections wise. We get 2 years. We're basically learning the first year, and then
apply.
Then year 2 we got to reapply. So it's an interesting, real interesting process. That's for sure.
Well, I personally believe, and this is not politic, and it's too late for this, that we should have a binding charter question that said, should the mayor's term be 2 or 4 years? Should the, because
I couldn't agree with you more. It's interesting because you look around us. Lawrence has 2 4-year terms. Haverhill has 2-year terms, but they're unlimited. There's no term limits at all. And then we have 3 2-year terms. And again, there's pros and cons to both. But I think you look at, I always point to Haverhill and, love, hate Jim Ferrantini, however you fall on that side. Because he's been there for so long.
The consistency,
You look at the progress that places like downtown Haverhill and the city in general has made.
I agree.
And you have to say it's very impressive. I personally like Mayor Ferrantini. I think he's a good guy. I think he's done a great job, retiring at the end of the year. But again, like you said, the consistency of it is there's very much pros to that. But then I understand people coming from the angle of, we don't want someone who's entrenched, and rules the city for 20, 30 years. So.
I get it.
Anyone who wants to be a mayor for 20 years, though, God bless him.
Yeah, God bless him is right. 20 years, so quite an accomplishment. And he did do a fine job, and he was always there for me. So there'll be no harsh words spoken from here.
I'm the same way.
But you're right. There's always debate about how much to develop, how far to develop. When's too much. That's a raging question. That every time a development is discussed in Methuen, it comes up. Oh, we've got too much housing. There's a lot of people that believe that. So it's something we need to talk about.
Because think of something like the PMA property. That's something that is in the process of someone's going to develop it, and most likely by the time it's developed, you're not going to be mayor anymore. Correct. So it's tough, and then it's tough for the developer to. Or for the mayor, or for the city.
I just heard Sid Harris scream, But
it's it's tough for the city, to really play an active role in that when the visions change.
It is, and you're a third party to it, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
it's a difficult situation.
Yeah, I think we see that with downtown Methuen.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, the thing, with downtown, and so I'm going to ask for your help there too, State Rep. So, with 54 Osgood Street.
That's
plus
exciting. That's an exciting project.
The Hancock Place and the Red Tavern and, Jose's Mirabella Lofts. For the first time since probably the 60s, we've got people downtown, right? So now, I'm telling you, we've got to give them some places to go.
I agree.
An ATM machine to use.
Yep.
A coffee.
Yep.
A coffee shop to duck in and duck out. Maybe one with a glass view of the falls.
Yep.
You got to give people things to do, destinations to make, even if it's just for a quick cup of coffee. Or whatever the cappuccino, whatever they call it.
No, I agree.
Right?
I agree. Well, and Osgood Street, that's going to be mixed use.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
With a steakhouse at the top. So,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're shaking it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But you're right. Now's the time for that whole downtown section to be reborn. Right?
And it has the potential. I'm a firm believer it has the potential. Again, is it ever going to be, an Essex Street like Lawrence?
1950s, yeah.
Probably not,
No.
because it's not built like that.
Right,
It wasn't designed like that.
Right.
But for those who say the downtown is something we just should give up, I disagree with that. I think there's a lot of things we can do on the margins.
Yeah.
I think Osgood Street is a specific opportunity that is exciting. That could again revitalize downtown more than it is currently.
Oh yeah, well. And kudos to Jack Wilson and the team.
Yep, Jack's
we
a
did
good man.
Factorial together this week.
That was great. Good hit.
That's at least 166 new jobs coming to Methuen, and we're talking technology jobs, which is really exciting. So if you're a Methuen resident, UMass Lowell student, and you're studying some of those technology elements, perfect jobs here on the horizon for you at
Factorial.
At Factoria, yeah. Sorry, I faded off. I started thinking about you.
It's it. Think about it though. Between over the past 5 years, New Balance, Factorial, Borelli's, they sold, Don Smerigno, Book of Golden Deeds coming up. Speaking of the Exchange Club, and then Tamacio's took it over, kept it a restaurant. We've had some real big economic development wins here in the city over the past 5 years. Kudos to Bill Buckley and now Jack Wilson and your administration for making these happen. So it's an exciting time, and we're just going to keep building.
Well, and it's hard, right? So you run into elements where you want to keep some of the history, some of the element of history,
of course,
that pervades the city, but also make it a little bit cleaner looking, right?
Well, I always joke with people when they ask why Methuen doesn't have a more traditional downtown, and I was like, well, we had 3 millionaires just throwing up buildings in the city.
Yeah.
Trying to build bigger buildings than the previous one. So I'm like, they weren't thinking of, they weren't like a milk company building Essex Street or even in Haverhill. I was like, they weren't worried about that.
I was thinking, I got to get Ken Doherty on here one of these weeks. Because he could, between Searles and Tenney, no love lost there.
No.
And so part of what they built and where they built it was to spite each other.
Exactly.
Like, spite fence kind of stuff. So
his posts are fascinating.
Oh yeah.
His posts are fascinating.
Yeah.
Someone who loves history. I very much enjoy reading his posts.
Yeah, we're going to get you on.
Yep.
So all I know is Teresa must not be watching today because there's only one question. It's from Nancy. She said, how's everybody doing today? So. All right. Let's go through a couple of these things and we'll come back to Ryan.
Speaking of Nancy Reardon.
Yes.
Okay, I have a question for her then. So I don't know if you saw it, but I saw on my way here, I was looking at Facebook after I parked, and the Methuen Life is going digital. So my question for Nancy is, are they still going to print a paper as well?
I can answer for her.
Oh, even better.
The intent is not to. I'm not so sure that works. So the intent is not to print an edition.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, I still like a good printed paper.
Well, and I will say. I love Steve Whipple. Mm-hmm. He's good to Methuen.
He is.
I've had several conversations with him saying, I don't know.
Maybe we can get 2 for us.
Yeah,
we can just ask him for 2 for us.
Yeah. I'm used to reading the Irish sports pages. So.
That's it. It's
All right, let's go through some of these next event slides while we're waiting, and then we'll come back to Ryan for some other. Yeah, early voting info. Go ahead, put that up. So early voting info starts this coming Monday, I believe. Yeah, there it is. Monday the 30th, right? Lunes, martes, miércoles, jueves, viernes, right? All 5 days. Notice that viernes is from 8 to noon, right? So there's a change in time. All the rest of those days, 8 a.m. to 4:30 in the city clerk's office on the first floor of City Hall. You can exercise your privilege to vote early if you so choose. So there's a number there to call, 978-983-8515. Any questions? And that starts again this coming Monday, the 30th. Wow, I can't believe this coming Monday is the 30th. All right, next slide, please. Keep going. All right, the rearranged, boy, did we make an excellent call on this one. So on Thursday, last week, we were thinking, we were still going to try to get this in on the 21st. And we looked at the forecast and said, nah, it looks bleak. And unlike Methuen Day, it was correct. It was bleak. And it poured and poured. Thank God we're going to have a beautiful day this Saturday. We'll be up at Great Court Park from, I think it's noon on, 12 to 3 p.m.
Going to be almost 80 degrees.
Huh?
Going to be almost 80 degrees.
Almost 80 degrees. Wow. So almost a true Indian summer. So come on out to our fall festival. Bring your kids in their costumes. Win prizes. All kinds of free stuff. Side of donuts, popcorn, water, hot dogs, you name it. So come on to the fall festival and enjoy yourself. Next one. The Halloween home decorating contest. Submit your decorated home to Methuen Parks and Rec via email to sangelo@citymethuen.net by October 30th for a chance to win local gift card prizes. I said this last week, Ryan, more and more people are decorating their homes for Halloween, right?
It's not just Christmas anymore.
Right. It's a huge amount of people that do it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, not as much now, but back when I was younger, my neighborhood specifically, some of them, man, they were impressive. It could take them a whole weekend just to finish them.
I'm sure. All right, next one. Trick or treat. We get that fixed for the mayor. Somebody wordsmithed it because it said Halloween trunk or treat. Trick or treat is Tuesday, October 31st, from 5 to 7 p.m. That is the traditional day, traditional time. Spooks and goblins roaming around. Make sure you put your headlights on and look out for little kids. All right.
Hot topic in the city, though.
What is?
Whether to keep trick or treat the day of or not. Yeah, I find it personally. I mean, it was I like it on the 31st. Though it was always better when it's a Friday or Saturday night.
Yeah. Well, and then the police say, well, if you're making a weekend night,
shenanigans happen.
Right? Yeah. So Tuesday, October 31st, 5 to 7, at least for this year. Next one. All right, Veterans Day Parade. Not to be forgotten, Saturday, November 11th. I think at 10 a.m., if I remember correctly. Deadline to register is Friday, November 3rd. Contact Tom Hargraves at hotmail.com. T.Hargraves at hotmail.com, excuse me. So the groups will form at the Legion at 9:30, and parade begins on Broadway at 10. Let's make this, I say this every year. We do Memorial Day to remember those who paid the ultimate sacrifice, and then we do Veterans Day to repay everybody who made the sacrifice. So come on out and show them that we appreciate what they did for this country. Next slide. My goodness.
Oh boy.
Santa Parade.
Already.
I can't believe, Saturday, November 18th. Still collecting bands and other acts to perform in it. And you can call Steve Angelo. He's going to be one busy boy. So Steve Angelo, and the parade route is, as it traditionally goes, all the way from Pelham Street through to Nicholson Stadium. So right on the Pleasant View Street. And then there's a judging stand right at the end at Nicholson Stadium where the floats get judged for.
Yeah. I will say, I'm biased.
Yeah.
Methuen and Haverhill have to have two of the best
unbelievable
Santa parades, and the fact that they're on separate days and I can go to both is fantastic.
Well, and Haverhill's got that tradition of the bell. Oh, you look that up. They got a bell. See, you're going to learn something.
Oh, I'm going to learn something new then.
Yeah, there's a bell. There's a traditional bell that they have.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, just between the bands, the sports teams, the dance groups, the gymnastics group, the schools. I mean, everyone just gets involved in Methuen and Haverhill. And, you know, Steve does a great job here. I know Jill Stacklin always helps out with the Santa parade.
Yeah.
Whirlaway always helps out, correct? They always.
Mark Kazanjian,
Mark always does a good job, and then Tommy Sullivan and a bunch of them do a great job in Haverhill.
Good people. Yep. So make sure you make those. Okay, we got a couple more, I think, in there, don't we? Here we go. The Methuen Tree Light, unbelievable. Sunday, December 3rd, 4 to 8 p.m. There'll be live music, sleigh rides, pictures with Santa, pony rides, interactive games, a holiday train ride, food trucks, and so much more. Come on out to our good friends at the Loop. And we recognize Randy Allen for his quality contributions to the city for a number of years here. So Methuen tree lighting at the Loop. And before you can have a tree lighting, I assume there's a slide in for selecting the tree? No? Did I think too much? I did, probably. Do we have another slide? No, we got the flag burning on December 7th. That's a very nice, respectful event. Mm-hmm. And the old flag can be dropped off to the Elmwood Cemetery on December 7th, or you can drop them at City Hall, or at the VFW, there's a box to collect them. And we'll burn them respectfully. Next, the Army-Navy football game watch is December 9th, with lunch provided by Texas Roadhouse. There's a cash bar with big screen TVs, 50-50 raffle, quarterly drawing, cash prizes. Public is welcome. The doors open at 2. Kickoff to the game is at 3. And you even get to cheer for whichever one you want, Army or Navy.
Did you see some of the tickets for that?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Right? I was thinking of, because I mean, talk about a great opportunity up here in New England. I mean, who doesn't like the Army-Navy football game? Yeah. It's the only game on TV.
It's in Foxborough, right?
Yeah, it's at Gillette. I think nosebleed tickets, like last row, $1,200.
Oh my God!
You get down to the lower rows, like $8-9 a ticket.
Wow!
I mean, fantastic, but
yeah, that boosts the local economy.
Yeah, absolutely. Robert Kraft will be very happy.
Very happy. All right, next we got the Veterans Holiday Party, another tradition, December 12th, from 6 to 9 p.m. This time at the Irish Cottage. We move it around respectfully, and then. Here's the one I was waiting for. So, can't have a tree lighting if you don't have a tree. So help us find the tree. If you've got a tree that you think should be the tree to beat last year's tree, which was pretty damn good, let me tell you, you can email it to sangelo@ci.methuen.ma.us. sangelo@ci.methuen.ma.us. And what's going to happen is, we're going to narrow it down to 4 or 5 finalists, and then you guys are going to vote.
Going to be tough to beat last year's.
Pick the tree. Last year's tree was spectacular.
It was.
Spectacular. So that'll be a tough one to beat. All right, here we are back. So, and we started talking about, some of the things that you do committee-wise. So when you go into committee, talk a little bit about what happens and how it evolves.
So usually, say, for financial services, usually there's a category or specific, again, category is the right term, that we will have a committee hearing on. So we don't just take bills at random orders. We usually go with, last one we had on Tuesday it was all about banking. Another one before that was all about insurance. That way we can kind of focus in and have like-minded bills heard together. So usually, we get testimony from state reps, state senators, from mass bankers is a frequent flyer when it comes to testifying, and they give us the opportunity to ask them questions. We hear from them, and it's you get 3 minutes to talk, and then there can be 3 minutes to talk about the bill, and then the reps can have a back and forth dialogue depending on the issue. It is a rapid fire proceeding, and it's probably the closest thing to a city council meeting, I would say, in the legislature, because again, it's almost like
on your feet,
and it's you're not voting on anything. That's the only difference. But in terms of like, it's like having dialogue with constituents, department heads, the mayor. It's more kind of informal, yet still a very formal proceeding. And I mean, specifically when it comes to financial services, I mean, I've learned a ton. It's a great committee to be on. Very interesting to see, insurances, banking, and hear from all these experts. You meet a lot of great people, a lot of informative people that allow you to make, good decisions. And then, and usually the committee hearings happen for the first year or so of the session. So a 2-year session. And then after that, we start we start taking internal votes on bills. And then that means we rule them out of committee, and then they go to the House floor for a vote. So usually year 1 is hearings, year 2 is the committee taking votes for about 4 to 6 months, and then the last 6 months is them going to the House floor.
Now, and I know this, do you foresee getting to champion any that, there were ones that you kind of brought to the House?
So every bill that's filed on time gets a hearing. So I've testified now, I've submitted, I want to say 11 or 12 bills. 3 of them or 4 of them are home rules for the city. And I've testified on 5 or 6 of them right now. Do I see any of, so the home rules could pass this year. That's in the this session. That's very possible.
And I shouldn't say this year. I mean,
Yeah, but like, so I just filed something within the past 3 weeks on fiscal responsibility, teaching that in school.
Great idea.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I actually met with I had a Zoom meeting today with a former NFL player, a fullback, who is who his new job with the NFL Players Association now, since he's retired, is teaching all NFL rookies, second year, third year players on financial
how to
literacy.
Balance a checkbook.
I mean, because he said, I knew a lot of players. He was a fullback, so he knew he had to have financial, responsibility because he wasn't getting paid that much. But he's like, I've seen, quarterbacks, wide receivers go through it in 3-4 years out of the league. They're broke. So that was a great conversation. But the way I look at that is, specifically Methuen, Haverhill, Lawrence, Lowell, gateway cities here in the Commonwealth, we have a lot of students that are going to make very important fiscal decisions, whether that be to go to college, to not go to college, to take on student debt, to buy a car, to rent an apartment. For those who, go to tech schools, who get a trade, start earning money, really, to rent an apartment, to buy a condo, to buy a house. And frankly, we're not equipping them with the knowledge to do that. We're leaving that solely to their parents. In some instances, parents aren't equipped to really help them with that. As I like to say it, and no disrespect to other towns in the Commonwealth, but like Sudbury, Lexington, Concord, Carlisle, if they make poor financial decisions as children, usually mom and dad can wipe that slate clean, and it's a learning experience. That doesn't happen up here in Methuen and Haverhill. And so our legislation would require each senior to take a half a year course on financial literacy.
I love it.
And that because it was a late file, I don't even know if it will get a hearing. I believe it will. It's already been sent to committee, which is good, but it's going to be a while. It's going to be a long time before it passes, most likely. So we're really building the grassroots structure right now for it. To start, leading that charge in the next year or so. And, the legislative process is not quick. And it can get frustrating. But we are, the education state here in Massachusetts. We pride ourselves on our ability to educate our students and our, college-educated students. And we don't have financial literacy. States like Alabama do, Virginia, they're leading the charge when it comes to financial literacy. And the only thing that we should be losing to Alabama is if we're playing them in football with Boston College. That's the only thing I accept.
Well, I was going to say with the Patriots, so
well, good win this week, but you're probably right now. We used to be able to brag about that, not so much. But that's why we're leading the charge there.
Before I let you go without a hard-hitting question, so I could ask you 2 questions. Your position on gun control.
Yeah, so we actually just passed gun reform And there's a lot of good things in said bill. One is we reinstituted the assault weapons ban that was back in the federal government in the 90s. That's, I think, a good thing. And specifically, we made sure that if you have one of those guns currently and are a law-abiding gun owner with your proper documentation, license to carry, all that stuff, you can keep that. So there is a grandfather clause in there, because that was a big thing for me, because I don't like taking people's guns away. I think that is a very slippery slope and something that we don't want to do here in the Commonwealth. So that was good. And also it addresses a lot of ghost guns, which have been a real big issue, because unfortunately they're put together in a home. There's no serial number. There's no nothing.
Right.
So if they're used in a crime, the police have very little information to track it. So we've updated so that a lot of that all ghost guns and most other guns have. I'm sorry, not most other guns. All ghost guns now have to have serial numbers on clips on the stocks, so that, God forbid, if they're used in a crime, then we will know who owns them. And if that gun was stolen, what have you, if that gun was just used in a crime. So I did vote on it. I know, I surely got a lot of Second Amendment people who were not happy about it, and I understand that. I think there's a lot of misinformation about the bill, because it was changed. The original bill had a lot of flaws, as I would call them, and we had a couple indoor meetings among the House of Representatives. And all of the representatives voiced our apprehension on some of the parts of the bill, and I would say 95% of those changes were instituted in the second bill. And then there was another amendment that we voted on to allow off-duty police officers to carry their weapons anywhere, because that was originally not part of the bill. And again, a lot of changes were made, and I think I think as more and more comes out and this law is instituted, people will feel more at ease. I know, because again, I understand your first thought of when you hear gun control, they're taking my guns, and I understand that. And that's not the case. If you are a current law-abiding gun owner, very little is going to change for you at all.
So it's good. So we gave you one hard-hitting question, and you hit it out of the park. So we got to give you the other third rail question, which you would realize is homelessness. Right. So homelessness specifically, we've got the shelter in the city. Right. The daycare. So what's your position on that? From a state perspective. Any thoughts on what we might do to get out of the bind that we find ourselves in?
So in my opinion, there's really two options. You either have to repeal the right to shelter law, which would be us in state, and I don't see that happening, or you can suspend it, which I see as probably the more prudent answer for a short time, because currently, in my opinion, we are just overwhelmed and do not have a plan on how to process, on how to, frankly, get people out of the shelter system and into living conditions and jobs, because that's if the federal government would allow us to expedite work permits, I think this would then truly become a shelter system of, okay, you come here, you're legal, or you're a Massachusetts citizen, and you're here for a year, 6 months, whatever, job, save some money, okay, now you're moving into a home, hotel, or I'm sorry, a home or a condo or an apartment. Then it becomes really a revolving door of like, okay, coming in, coming out, so on and so forth. Because we don't have that, people are there for 2 years. I mean, how long have people now been at the Days Inn? 2 years? I want to say some have probably been there 2 years. That's not sustainable. I mean, we have a housing crisis as is with people who live in Massachusetts. Never mind people, coming up here. So, I mean, right now, unless we're going to, as a state, spend more money and put more money to the shelter system, which I also don't think we're going to do from what I've been hearing, I think there's no other way than to stop it temporarily until we can really get our bearings on how we're going to transition people out.
I'm supposed to get my 10 minutes with the governor. I talked to her yesterday, but as you know, that's specifically to talk about this is not working the way
No.
it's set up, right? So
No, and I will say what really frustrates me about the Days In specifically, and I've been lucky. I've got some updates from you. I've gotten some updates from the health department, and I've seen some videos of some of the living conditions. And no human being, I don't care who you are, I don't care where you come from, should live in such conditions. And that's what really frustrates me. And I'm sure this isn't only located in Methuen, but we have some people profiting off this and just taking the money and run and not putting it back into their hotel or their living conditions and giving people just basic human dignity. And just, again, I know sometimes immigration and stuff like this is politicized and people have their opinions, and I respect that. But just from a basic human decency point, it hurts my heart physically to see that.
Yeah, well, it's funny, not funny you say that, but we have begun starting today finding the hotel. Because it's at a point where we've either got to do something or not, right? And so we're not making the progress towards the goals that we set up with our Health and Human Services group with the hotel. So now there'll be fines to pay. And that's unfortunate. People are going to say, oh, that's just the city trying to get its share of the... It's not. My preference would be not to have to send police units over there, not to have to send ambulance, not to send my health inspectors, but it's not right for me to go to the taxpayer and say, you got to pay for that because we decided to put some people there. Go ahead.
And the thing is, from the hotel perspective, money's not the issue.
Yeah.
I mean, whoever owns that hotel is making plenty of money to keep it up and running in a clean and neat fashion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they are choosing not to do that.
Yeah.
So I personally have no ill feelings towards you guys finding them at all. I think he's been given plenty warnings and ample opportunity to do so, and he's not complied, and that's what happens. That's how we treat a regular business in this city if they were had the same issues.
Now, we did get a couple of comments. They weren't questions for you per se, hard anyway. Tomorrow night from 4 to 8 is Tip a Cop night at Texas Roadhouse for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So going down there and Tip a Cop.
#1 grossing Texas Roadhouse in the country.
That's right. And I'm surprised you knew that. And then the second thing is, Teresa says, I think there should be a financial literacy course at the community college level, high school level, plus at community level. Credit card debt is a national problem. You're not just kidding. Right?
She's 100% right.
Yeah.
I think that's great, because I think once we get, I get the reason why I personally started with schools is because I want to start, I want a generation to develop into, that. Unfortunately, if you start from the top, you still have kids who are still
correct.
Not going to have the financial tools. If you start at the bottom with young people, hopefully we can equip them with financial tools that, will help them throughout their lives. But I think, once we make financial literacy, law of the land in schools, I think that's the next thing we have to tackle. Community colleges, we need to tackle just general, even seniors. When I have my office hours at the senior center, it breaks my heart sometimes. You have 2 seniors who've worked their whole lives living off pensions that should give them, the financial security and the, dignity, to live the rest of their lives out in comfort. And unfortunately, with the cost of living, with housing,
it's not working, right?
they can't do that. And they're having to make decisions they weren't prepared to make. It just breaks your heart to have to have those conversations with them. So I think we should have financial literacy on every level. I couldn't agree with her more.
I couldn't agree with you more. Then she asks, what about getting the people at Days In jobs so they can move out?
So that's 100%. It's a fantastic idea. And you know what? I've only been down there once, and I was with a translator. And I will say, so I didn't talk to everyone there by any means, but the 95% of the people that I talked to, the #1 thing they said to me is, can you get me the permits to get a job? They want to work. We have a job shortage here in the Commonwealth. I couldn't agree with you more. Let's get them to work. And that's where that whole revolving door starts, is once you get people to work, they can save some money, then they can leave and live their lives.
Yep.
And then you can help more people come in. But if the revolving door is not working, eventually we hit capacity, which is what we're about to do in the next couple weeks.
All right, Teresa's got the question machine running now. So I got to watch the time. What did you learn about being a House representative that you found most surprising and most interesting?
Great question.
No secret passageway or anything?
No, haven't found one of those yet. No, my office on the 5th floor, no pool. It's too bad.
Yeah.
So far, I have found one thing that I was personally worried about. I'm the youngest in the house, and I know I was worried that I would be kind of an afterthought, that people wouldn't take me seriously. And I will say, I've been very lucky in terms of when I've been at the table helping make decisions for Methuen and Haverhill with my colleagues. There's been nothing but respect. There's been nothing but transparency.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the backroom deals that are famously said to have happened yet. So that's kind of what I was surprised about. I always personally like to kind of sit back and watch and listen at first, just to kind of get a lay of the land.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as bad as I would have thought, which is positive.
You're there in a historical time where the state auditor is pushing to audit the legislature.
Yes, she is.
And there is pushback from the legislature not to be audited.
Nope.
That must be difficult for you. I won't put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, I'll be frank. It's difficult. Being a new legislator, and having that, I will say, when I see the auditor and talk to the auditor in the State House, I'm sure I get some side eyes.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. As I like to say, she's doing what she has to do, and I'm as the auditor, and I'm doing what I have to do as a state rep in terms of delivering for Methuen and Haverhill, and we'll see how everything goes. She's doing her ballot. She's doing her signature drive right now, and wants to get it on the ballot in 24, and we'll see. I'm interested. Again, I specifically have tried to not pay too much attention to it, because again, there's not really much I can do either way. But I'm interested to see how this all shakes out.
So, what jobs are available at the House of Representatives for college students as interns? Are there any? I guess.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So this summer, I would recommend being an intern in the summer.
Yeah.
I have actually an intern right now. Her name Haley. She's from Haverhill.
Yeah.
I had 2 interns during the summer. Jack Schiavone, who's from Methuen, and then Sean Simonian, who's from Billerica, who I actually knew from UMass Lowell. And we have a specific intern series in the summer where we bring in speakers. I believe the auditor was one of the speakers, the attorney general, lieutenant governor, a couple of the committee chairmen and women speak to everyone. So there's just a lot more going on in the summer. It's budget time. There's a lot more things that you can do. But we're flexible, and we appreciate the help. It's always great to have an intern around, and we show him or her a little bit of everything. Committee hearings, constituent services. Jack helped me a lot with our rec meetings in district. So we're always looking for him. I would ask you to reach out to me at ryan.hamilton@mahouse.gov, and happy to set that up for you whenever it's convenient for you.
What is the most difficult part of your job as a new representative? What advice would you give for someone considering running for a similar position?
Okay, I was going to say, if they said state rep, I was like, please don't run against me. But and also, last thing about college students, if you let us know soon enough for internships, usually we can get you some form of compensation or credit from the college, which is key, because commuting in and out of Boston is not cheap, and we appreciate free labor, but like you to get some sort of compensation back.
Amen.
In terms of running for office, and you're a great person to talk to about this, because you ran for office for mayor, which is a very big step, without any help holding any previous office. I would say if you're interested, you should do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at some of our offices now here at the local level. We have very few races. I mean, again, I don't like to point this out about myself, but I also ran unopposed. And, Methuen and democracy in general is better when we have candidates. And, but it's a very daunting task. And my thing is, I always tell people if they want to run, but also don't run halfway.
Right.
Like if you're in work and you're
fully
in,
commit.
Because there's, I've seen it not really in Methuen or Haverhill, but around the Commonwealth, there's a propensity now to really, just put your name on the ballot and say, if I win, I win. If I don't, I don't. And I just find that to be kind of disrespectful because, these are important jobs, whether you're getting elected to the school committee, city council, state rep, Congress, mayor, president, and we want serious people who want to do the jobs. And that would be my advice. And as always, reach out to your local elected officials, get their opinion on issues, and it's
know what you're voting for.
Know what you're voting for, and always just have a reason on why you're running.
Yeah, amen. Good for you. Wisdom beyond your years there.
We try. I've learned from the best.
So, we're at the 5-minute mark. Is there anything you wanted to say to your constituents from Methuen and Haverhill who might be watching?
Yeah, both. I would just say, we have election day now in 13 days, and just go out and vote.
Unbelievable. Huh?
It really is. It really is. I turned 26. I get kicked off health care on Monday.
Oh, God.
I was going through that process today of getting my own. I'm like, I'm officially old. But no, I mean, so all I'm hearing in Methuen and even Haverhill, who's electing a new mayor for the first time in 20 years, which is crazy, is everyone's like, I don't need to go out to vote. It's not that important. I already know who's going to win, this and that. And I would just say, even if you do, it's still better if you go out and vote. Let your voice be known. Tell your neighbors to go out and vote. We're better when we have a very engaged populace. I mean, I think of all the people who came out and voted and the engagement we had in your first election compared to your second one and now your third one. And I mean, I guess part of that is people are happy that of the track that we're on and stuff like that, and I get that. But still, it's just we need our voting numbers to be better here.
We do. We absolutely
in the city of Methuen and in the city of Haverhill as well, and frankly nationwide. I know people keep between cities, towns, feel as though they don't recognize the country we're turning into and stuff like that. And my suggestion is, again, vote. You look at how President Trump beat Hillary in 2020 and then vice versa, Biden beating Trump in 2022. A couple thousand votes in Michigan and Pennsylvania swayed the election either way. So when people say your vote doesn't matter,
it does.
They're wrong.
It absolutely does,
Steve Zani beat, who did he beat his first term?
The guy with the
Al
ambulance.
Danuccio. By like 10 votes his first term. Again, your vote doesn't count. I disagree.
It does. Especially at the local level.
So that's, exactly. So that's my thing. Please go out and vote. And use your voice, and also feel free, get involved, whether it's a board or committee or running for office.
Please,
or just being on the PTOs, the sports leagues, the exchange club.
It all helps.
It really does. I mean, I see some of the wonderful things that happen in Methuen and Haverhill that aren't done by politicians. And I love seeing that. I really do, because it's volunteerism in its purest form.
Absolutely. So, and before we leave, at the 2-minute mark, shout out to all our Rangers boys and girls fall team. We're having a memorable fall.
We are.
In Rangerland. And boys football is playing Lowell, I believe, this Friday
College
night.
Stadium, I believe.
And then playoff determination follows that.
I think they're currently ranked 5th or 6th, I thought I read in the paper. And then I think, what was it? Boys soccer just qualified for the States for the first time, and I think since I was there in high school. I didn't play soccer though, so but I wasn't responsible for that. But and then girls field hockey. It's again. I went to Methuen High, and we always had some good teams, but I feel like over the past 3-4 years, man,
gotten better and better.
They've really stepped up.
Yeah, I agree.
And you've had some really good teams.
Okay, I got to tell you, you can live a long time and not see what you saw at the end of that football game. Friday night. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable.
I know.
Right?
So I was following on my phone because I was actually at an event in Boston.
Yeah.
And I saw him tie it up. And
Yeah.
I was like, all right, we're going to go to do they play overtime in high school? I think they do.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I was like, we're going to overtime. Then we go. Perfect. Then all of a sudden, I look back 10 minutes later, and they won. And I'm like,
I know.
I'm like, how did they?
Well, imagine a true statistician looking through, and he sees 2 plays back to back, field goal,
Yeah.
by the same team.
Yeah, I know. I know.
So,
and they've had a tough schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, Lincoln Sudbury's no joke that they lost.
No.
Billerica, same
Billerica,
thing.
very good.
Tewksbury always plays you tough. Andover just beat Central.
And it beat Central, yeah.
I mean, you get some. It's when Methuen makes it, when they're going to make it into the playoffs, and when they do, they're going to be a team to reckon with.
Yep,
they really are. Especially Coach Ryan's a good coach, and you got some talent there.
You heard it here first. All right, so I had said we were transitioning into our local shopping. That doesn't happen till December. Clearly, the mayor's got his months confused. So we've got some more on mental health coming next week. Ryan mentioned earlier in the show John Crocker, who's one of the best.
Great guy.
So we'll talk a little bit more about that in the coming week. In the meantime, go support your Rangers. Don't forget the Fall Festival that's coming Saturday. We're there 12 to 3. Lots for people to do. Cider donuts, popcorn, water, hot dogs, you name it. Come on down, enjoy the costume contact, and potentially win some prizes. We'll see you there at the Fall Festival. God bless you, and see you next week on Mayor's Minutes.